Joshua 23 started with how God has given the Israelites rest roundabouts, and we also saw that Joshua gathered the leaders of all the tribes and the elders amongst the Israelites. That now that he is old, he just began to encourage them and advise them that they should serve the Lord their God. They shouldn't lean on their own understanding. They should not serve any other god. That God is a jealous God, so don't call the name of any other god, don't swear by the name of any other god. You should only serve and love only God. And also he acknowledged that God was the one that did everything through him for them. It's so easy to take the glory when we have been able to achieve great things, but I just love the fact that Joshua was able to divert the attention of the glory back to God, that it was God that made them to do every other thing that they did. So that was the major part of Joshua 23. And he also asked them to think deeply and to also realize how much God has been faithful to them. So it requires a deep meditation for you to realize how much God has actually been faithful to you. He told them that they should think deeply of what God has done for them, that he has not failed any of his promises. He has fulfilled every one of his promises that he promised them. And chapter 24, which is the last chapter in the book of Joshua, just described more or less like the last gathering that the Israelites had with Joshua before he died. So he began to recount the history of the Israelites, how God called the father of Abraham, Terah, and how also God chose Abraham, how God called Abraham and brought him to Canaan, how God established the offsprings of Abraham through Isaac. He also reminded them of Isaac's grandson Jacob and how he ended his life in Egypt. He also just told them the story and their history about the story of Moses, how they parted the Red Sea, how they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, how they conquered the river Jordan, how they passed through it, how God, it was just recounting, thinking back and, appreciating that God has actually fulfilled all the promises that he made to them. So now that we have come to the end of the book of Joshua, so many lessons were learned from this book, from this from each of the chapters. So many lessons were learned from it, and I'm just really grateful to God. Thank you for riding on the journey with me. For me, the big lessons that stood out for me would be trust in God, lean not on your own understanding, communicate with God. God is ever ready for you to communicate with him. He's always there. Pay attention to what he's telling you and don't deviate from his plans, don't deviate from his instructions. Just be obedient, love God, trust God, and believe him and do what he asks you to say per time and per season, and everything will just work well. What did you learn from Joshua as a whole? I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye.